All right, let's talk about the direction of the Republican Party with Jennifer Rubin, opinion writer for The Washington Post, MSNBC political analyst, and author of Resistance, How Women Saved Democracy from Donald Trump, and Michael Steele, former chairman of the RNC and Maryland's former lieutenant governor and an honorary member of Team Velshi. Michael, thank you. I was off in Africa doing my thing because you were sitting in and helping do this show, so I'm grateful to you, and I'm grateful to both of you for being here. Jennifer Rubin, make some sense of what happened this last week, because there were moments, there were glimmers of hope for parts of the Republican Party and some conservatives and Republicans in this country, and then there's like some disaster stuff that went on with MAGA election deniers winning very, very solidly. What do you make of what happened?
I think by and large, Donald Trump still has an iron grip on the Republican Party, that the number of election deniers, as well as the number of Republicans who voted for impeachment who were defeated, tells me that the Republican Party is very much in the MAGA camp. As you outlined, we have a very dangerous situation because secretaries of state, attorneys general, governors are the people who review elections, run elections, certify elections. And if those people are thoroughly corrupt and essentially have decided a Democrat will never win this state again, then our democracy collapses and our presidential election system collapses. So these are going to be very, very serious races. And as you said, the electorate is going to have a choice between Democrats, some rather moderate Democrats, I would add, Gretchen Whitmer, for example, in Michigan, Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, or to go down this road of MAGA Republicans. And I will say one thing. In a very interesting interview yesterday, Liz Cheney said, "I don't think you should vote for any election denier." I'm going to be looking to see if she actually goes out and campaigns and makes a forceful pitch to Republicans not to elect these people.
What do you think, Mike?
No, I think Jennifer's nailed it. The reality of it is there's a lot of evidence now that sort of confirms that Trump's hold on the party is gone actually beyond Trump himself, to the extent that you have in MAGA world people now sort of wanting to dance with DeSantis and starting to say, oh, I like Trump's policies, whatever the hell those are. And I like what he's done for the country. Yeah, that's turned out well. But I think we should probably look around and see, he's a little bit of this, he's a little bit too much that. That tells me that MAGA has become an entity unto itself, which to Jennifer's point is like you get an infection that's isolated and then it spreads. And then it gets to the points where the doctors go, damn, this has consumed your entire body. And now we have to resort to drastic measures, which is what Liz Cheney is referring to, where you're going to see Republicans like myself and Liz and others who will say without any hesitation, do not vote for anyone who's telling you that the 2020 election was a lie. Donald Trump is still the duly elected president of this country. Because that, my friends, on the other side of that,
so Jennifer,
you won't like it at all.
Well, so let me give you a perfect example. I know you've chimed in on this, Michael, so I want to ask you, Jennifer. Peter Meyer in Michigan, guy who voted to impeach, Republican, who voted to impeach Donald Trump. He's a Republican. He's not a liberal Republican. He's a Republican, but he did the right thing by Trump. Democrats spent a whole lot of money getting his opponent elected, an election denier, because they figured the opponent would be easier to defeat in a general election than Peter Meyer was. And that worked. The opponent won. Peter Meyer lost his primary. What do you think of that? That's some strategic voting that could work for Democrats or could go really wrong, could get another election denier elected to Congress.
Yeah, I think it's a very dangerous tactic. And I would absolutely condemn if they were doing that in a gubernatorial, a secretary of state, or a attorney general spot for the reasons we just talked about. You cannot put election deniers in charge of elections, and you cannot risk that one of these people who you say will never win, I think we went down the road with Trump on that one, will somehow be defeated in the general election. As far as the congressional seats go, again, you have to be really, really careful that you're not adding to that body of crazy in the House of Representatives. And we're going to see whether this backfires on Democrats and some of these people actually get in. Now, I will say this. Every Republican who is currently running, with the exception of Liz Cheney, is going to line up and vote for Kevin McCarthy for Speaker. And I think that's then makes them kind of fair game. If you're going to ultimately go down that road, then you're not somebody who the Democrats want around for very much longer. It was nice that he voted for impeachment. That's great. But until these people forswear the party itself, until they say, I'm not going to put a person like Kevin McCarthy, who is completely loyal to Donald Trump, in a position of authority, I think that's fair game. And I don't think Republicans should be voting for, quote, good Republicans if those good Republicans are going to turn around and empower the MAGA forces.
And Michael Steele, I heard from my fantastic team who loves working with you that you might have a different opinion on this. You think it's fair game. If Democrats think they can get somebody in who they can defeat, maybe they should try it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a former county, state, and national chairman. That's what I do. We have strategies. We employed them, and this is something that's been employed in the past by both Democrats and Republicans. And I'll put it to you this way. People sit back and, they don't seem to have a problem with negative ads in a general election against an opponent. But now we're concerned about a party putting out positive ads about your opponent in a primary. So, I hear what people are saying. And yes, there's a risk with every strategy you do in politics. There's just absolutely a risk with that. But I can tell you we had some success with this in 2010. I had some success with it here in Prince George's County and the state of Maryland. And so sometimes it works out that it all lines up for you. And it's just one more effort that parties have in there available to them to try to get to a position where you have the best competitive advantage going into a general election. So I just find it a little bit funny that people are slamming the Dems for running positive ads about these MAGA Republicans. Yeah, they're going to turn around in November and say, don't vote for that crazy. Of course they are. But that's just part of the nature of trying to put the best players in front of you that you're going to go up against.
Well, I appreciate both of you. It is great to have you both here. Thank you for joining us this morning. Jennifer Rubin is a Washington Post opinion writer, and Michael Steele is the former RNC chairman and host of the Michael Steele podcast. Both great friends of our show. And that does it for me. Thanks for watching thanks for watching this special edition of Velshi from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I am here tomorrow as well. I'm going to an abortion clinic that can't provide abortions anymore right after this show, and I'm going to bring you that tomorrow. Velshi Across America, Post Row, Alabama, starts at 8 a.m. Eastern. The Cross Connection with Tiffany Cross begins right now.